place as young people who aren't hardcore offenders, who have perhaps made a single mistake or need to be kept in secure accommodation for, say, social or welfare purposes?
Well, again, you're absolutely right. That's the problem. That's the problem we face in Jersey, because in Jersey we have a limited number of institutions. See, in an ideal world, we'd have a specialist secure children's home, and we'd also have a criminal type Greenfields, and we'd also have the young offenders place up at Lamoy. Now we can't have that number, so there are hard decisions made. There are also issues as to whether this contravenes particular conventions or not, which have complicated the issue. But at the end of the day, there's been a political failure to even decide what we want to achieve.
And you would like to help put that right?
Absolutely.
Now,
we've got to make a decision because if only for the 16 and 17-year-olds.
Now, I have to ask, are you in danger of letting the problems of dealing with a small number of persistent youth offenders colour your entire view of the youth justice system? I mean, not every child who gets into trouble is a violent thug.
Well, not all the ones that I'm talking about are violent thugs either. No, of course not.
Then how should we deal with those who aren't a threat to others?
Well, we have an excellent system. This is where, unfortunately, the Howard League have repeated the mistakes made by the Rutherford report in failing to understand the nature of the parish hall inquiry system. We have a brilliant system.
Well, I think they did say that they thought the system did work and perhaps could be improved.
Yeah, well, they did, but then they made the same mistake as Mr. Rutherford had made by suggesting that we should have professional prosecutors only in the magistrates' court, and not understanding that the whole legal basis of the parish hall inquiry is that the centenary is a prosecutor making a decision whether to take to court or not. Now, the vast majority of cases involving youngsters are dealt with at a parish hall inquiry level very, very successfully. They can be put on to voluntary probation, they can be put on to deferred decision, all these kind of things. As a result of that, they bypass the normal criminal system. They don't obtain a full criminal record. There's huge benefits associated with that. Totally and utterly supportive of that. But that doesn't prevent the problem that I'm talking to you about primarily this morning, which is of the hardcore who don't respond.
To move on, how do you regard the ratification by the states of Jersey on the United Nations Conventions on the Rights of the Child? Because we've been told that they intend to ratify this quite soon.
Well, I need to look at that more. I need to think about that more, because we have got problems associated with being a small jurisdiction, and problems in relation to the limited institutions we've got. And we need to make sure that by doing that, we don't immediately put ourselves in breach in a way that we cannot actually solve. I mean, for instance, there's this real area of difficulty involving young women. And you probably realise that if the court sentence a young person under 18 to youth custody,
then the law physically is broken here in Jersey, isn't it?
No, the law's not broken.
Because they're sent to Lamoy, aren't they? That's not what the law says.
The law's not broken. The law actually makes provision for the governor to have a discretion to hold them in the female wing. But that's highly undesirable. But the law actually makes provision for that. It's not broken. If that was said by the Howard League, they didn't check the statute properly. But this is not a desirable state of affairs as well, and I suspect would be immediately in breach of the convention.
Jersey is a very conservative society. How much change in the youth justice system do you think the people of Jersey are ready to accept?
I don't know the answer to that. I've never asked them, and obviously I'm pretty aware of the views of people like Centenniers. I'm aware of the views of the youth court and the youth panel. For the days when I was there, we didn't generally see any need for major change. There's a constant process of tweaking going on in relation to these systems. If you move to something like the Scottish system, which is being suggested, that system really works better when you don't have the parish inquiry system. And even there, they have problems with the sort of youngsters I'm talking about. They have to deal with them in specialist courts. Yes, we could, in retrospect, have created a separate room where we could have dealt more informally with youngsters than we do in the existing youth court. And I think, in retrospect, I regret that we missed a trick there would have been those that we would have wanted to have dealt with in that sort of way. The layout of the building doesn't allow that.
We need to finish, but I need to ask you that I know you said you want to be our next Minister for Home Affairs. Now, if you're successful in that ambition, can you sum up what kind of regime will young offenders or children suspect of committing a crime face if you can have the systems in place that you want?
Well, I think it'd be exactly the same as what we have at the moment, except that a decision will have been made as to where the break is in terms of age between the young offenders institution at Lemoy and Greenfields, so that when the courts are sentencing, should we say, 15 and 16-year-olds, they'll be sentencing them to Greenfields rather than to Lemoy. And in addition, if I can command a majority in the States on this issue, in addition, the courts will, in the most extreme cases, be given a power of sentencing, limited power, subject to all sorts of safeguards, to Greenfields for people at younger age, where they are persistent offenders, and the public need to be protected against them, and indeed where they need to be protected themselves. Senator-elect
and former magistrate Ian Marquand, thank you very much for your time on our breakfast programme this